We are now on Module 9, High Availability and Fault Tolerance. In this module, we will discuss vSphere high availability, configuring vSphere high availability, and vSphere high availability architecture. We will look at virtual machine fault tolerance, and we will look at replication and data protection. VMware offers protection at every level. At the component level, VMware provides network interface card teaming. At the server level, VMware provides high availability and fault tolerance. At the data store level, VMware provides data store replication. At the data level, VMware provides backup software, and at the site level, VMware allows you to replicate virtual machines to remote sites, so if your current site completely melts down, you can still start the virtual machines on a remote site. In this section, we're going to look at protecting virtual machines and ESXi hosts. So let's start out with an introduction to vSphere high availability. With vSphere high availability, if an ESXi host dies, the virtual machines start up on another host. This requires that both hosts be a member of the same cluster. What is a cluster? A cluster is a group of computers, and when you add a host to a cluster, the host's resources become part of the cluster's resources. Clusters enable the vSphere high availability and distributed resource scheduler solutions. And if I click on Learn More About Clusters, I can see that we can use clusters to maximize host utilization and to provide high availability for virtual machines. In the next chapter, we will discuss DRS, but in this section, we will discuss high availability. High availability allows virtual machines running on ESXi hosts to automatically recover from host failures. High availability allows virtual machines to recover from host failures. But before we talk about high availability, let's review what it means to boot a virtual machine. In fact, let's review what it means to boot a computer. When you boot a computer, you turn it on. And after you turn it on, the operating system is pulled off of the hard disk and loaded into the RAM of the microcomputer. And that's the definition of booting a computer. Now, let's look at booting a virtual machine. In a virtual network infrastructure, the virtual machine is stored on the storage area network hard disk. So when we boot the virtual machine is pulled all off of the hard disk on the storage area network and loaded into the memory of the ESXi host. This is how a virtual machine boots. Now, let's look at high availability. With high availability, if an ESXi host dies, the virtual machines will start up on another host. With high availability, if one ESXi host crashes, then the virtual machines which were running on this ESXi host are then loaded into the memory of another ESXi host. There is a certain delay of 30 seconds to 2 minutes. It's whatever the time is for that virtual machine to boot. High availability provides protection against multiple types of failures. So we have 3 examples. High availability protects against host failures, against guest operating system failures, and against application failures. If there is an entire ESXi host failure, then the virtual machines start up on a different ESXi host. If the guest operating system fails, then the virtual machine is restarted on the same host. And if an application within an operating system fails, then that virtual machine is restarted on the same ESXi host. Let's look at 3 different high availability scenarios. The first scenario is a host failure. So what we have here is an ESXi host with two virtual machines running on it, virtual machine A and virtual machine B. And if that ESXi host crashes, then the virtual machines are gone. With high availability, those virtual machines start up on another ESXi host. The second scenario is a failure of a guest operating system. We have a guest operating system running in this ESXi host. If the guest operating system crashes, high availability restarts the entire virtual machine, which reloads the guest operating system. And the third example is an application failure. If an application running within a virtual machine crashes, then high availability restarts the entire virtual machine, which then restarts the application. High availability protects against a host failure, a guest operating system failure, or an application failure. And this concludes our introduction to high availability.